Stugotz, I wanted to ask you something. Last week, Jay Glazer came on the show when we were talking about Lamar Jackson and his contract status and the fact that at the end of Baltimore season, a Baltimore team that could have beaten Cincinnati and all of a sudden Joe Burrow wouldn't have a Super Bowl in your personal record book. Joe Burrow would be criticized for losing in the early rounds if Sam Hubbard hadn't run 98 yards with a football. If Lamar Jackson had played in that game, I think we could agree that probably would have given them an even better chance to beat Cincinnati. But Jay Glazer said that it wasn't understandable that with that kind of sprain, which a lot of guys would play on, that Lamar Jackson wouldn't shoot up and get out there to play in that football game. Jay Glazer said, and he speaks, I think, on behalf of a lot of people in the culture of that sport that treats it like the military. He said, quote, "It is an honor to play hurt in that world. It is an honor to play hurt." And I'm like, Jay, it's $250 million. He doesn't have an agent. That entire sport at one point was questioning whether he could even play the position. That position played that way gets people hurt. Even if it's an injury that most people would play with, it's a $250 million thing.
But he signed up for this season, Dan. He already agreed to play this season, and now you're at the biggest point of the season, the postseason, in a playoff game that Jay Glazer thinks he could have played in, and most guys probably would have. Look at what Mahomes did last weekend. He agreed to play this year. Like, if you're going to make that decision, make it before the season. And everyone would understand that.
More importantly, he signed off on not having an agent. So using it as an argument against, I think that that doesn't hold water.
I'm simply saying that he is in a position where he is fending for himself against the entire culture of what that sport is.
Which he did. No, he fended for himself.
Yes.
And you can understand it, but I can certainly understand the other side of that coin, which is looking at how that Ravens-Bengals game played out and looking at how that Bills game played out. You only have so many opportunities to make a run at a Super Bowl. That defense was Super Bowl good. If Lamar Jackson was out there, it stands to reason they would have won that game.
Now, in fairness to Lamar, you only have so many chances in your life to get $400 million, and the circumstances changed to where he was healthy at the beginning of the season, and now he suffered a knee injury, and he doesn't want to go back out there.
You think that helped them? In the eyes of getting it from the Ravens, I don't think it helped them.
Well, the Ravens say they are now committed to him. They publicly said a lot of things last week that are like, "Yep, he's our quarterback."
See, he wants $70 more guaranteed. The reports
were
he turned down $133 million guaranteed, and he wants it fully guaranteed the way that Deshaun Watson's deal was. And you can understand that if the comp is Deshaun Watson. That's why everyone in the NFL is so pissed off at Jimmy Haslam's, because if that's a comp and that guy gets his deal fully guaranteed, why not the former MVP?
But even if you view this as a strike against Lamar Jackson, he is preserving his value that he will achieve from somebody. The NFL is desperate enough at this position that somebody will give him the kind of contract that he's looking for.
It's going to be Baltimore.
You guys made fun of me last week because I said Derek Carr has a no-trade clause. And you guys were like, it's $40 million. They're just going to waive him. I'm like, you guys see how many people are desperate for a quarterback? Look at what Carolina. You think Tepper wants to wait around and go through through Brad? He doesn't want to do Baker Mayfield, that stuff. I could just get Derek Carr. What do you think the Colts want to do? Like, Derek Carr is going to get his money because of how hard it is to play that position in that sport. And I ask you, if Derek Carr is going to get his money, what's Lamar Jackson worth? And what's the amount of money he was actually protecting by making that decision? As Jay Glazer says, it's an honor to play hurt. Because I would say, not my last game for $300 million. It's not an honor. No, thank you.
It's a lot different when it's Mahomes. He's got his money already. He's got his 13-year contract. Mahomes clearly wants to go out there, and it means a lot to him. And he was pissed off when they took him out of the game originally.
Does Josh Allen have his?
Yeah, he's got his contract.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
But that's what Jay was saying. The reason it's so interesting is because it's crossroads. The Ravens have an MVP quarterback. Everybody wants one of those. He's young, but he's different than all the others because he might get hurt because that position can hurt when you play it that way. And he just ended a season that could have ended. All this talk about Joe Burrow could have ended it right there. He ended it because he didn't think that he could play. And Jay Glazer's telling you that kind of sprain, you can play. That kind of, you're not going to do further damage to that. And Lamar's like, I don't trust anybody here. I don't trust doctors. I don't trust football. I don't trust no, thank you. And what? Because what is going to be the result of that?
Well, you can't hurt that sprain more than it already was with the PCL. But what happens with these lower body injuries is athletes try to overcompensate and put additional stress on other parts of their body, and then other parts of the knee may go because of the additional stress.
I mean, Jay's not his doctor. I mean, he's a football analyst.
No,
he's a reporter.
No,
Mike,
but Jay
saying,
made it seem like he knows people that spoke to the Ravens doctors.
And I don't doubt that because he's excellent at his job. I'm just saying I see it from both sides. Where if you're Glazer, you're criticizing him because, hey, you agreed to play this year, and if you're available to play in the biggest game of the year, then go play in the game. And I see it from Lamar's side where, well, no, I'm a game away from a $300 million contract. I'm not going to jeopardize that because circumstances have changed, and I was healthy when I made that decision, and now I'm not.
We're also picking and choosing when we're trusting team doctors and not, right? Because like when Tua was cleared by the team doctors, it's like, well, they don't have his best interest in mind. They want him out there. So the Ravens doctors say, well, he can go out there, he could play, and then we're trusting like they have his best interest in mind.
An example of what Glazer said, and he's accurate. I mean, the way you win respect in a football locker room is to play hurt and to
or win the MVP.
Yeah, but in this case, he's the quarterback, which magnifies everything. This is the playoffs, which magnifies everything. In a few days, we're going to see Patrick Mahomes play with a high ankle sprain, which might, in the regular season, keep him out for a month. You think he's going to miss the game?
Tony couldn't walk.
It's a common misconception, though. The high ankle sprain, low ankle sprain are totally different things. Different parts of the leg, by the way.
He's going to be playing hurt.
High-low.
Burrow might get through snow. Because I do believe Whittingham is right, that the explanation for what I thought was fairly inexplicable, which is why can't the Bengals defensive line with a bunch of backups get overhauled, get mauled by the Bills? Oh, maybe it's because snow kind of altered the way that maybe, I don't know, maybe Buffalo was playing differently than they played before. When those are the victory margins in that sport, you've got an MVP quarterback who's worth what Lamar Jackson is worth. I don't think he costs himself anything with that business decision. Do you?
I think all he cost himself was, opening himself up to criticism, which I think is fair.
Right.
I would have liked to have him to have played.
Like
I don't think it's like college football where they're not getting paid any money and they're trying to protect their bodies, and anyone can understand opting out of a bowl game. This is a run at a Super Bowl. I think you buy a lot with that franchise. I think you buy a lot with that locker room, and I think
what did Baker
Mayfield
Mayfield buy himself by trying to play injured through?
I understand, but you would also understand that those quarterbacks were in different positions.
Yeah, one of them can make a lot of money, and the other one's Baker Mayfield.
Whatever
we
he
were
lost.
talking about Josh Allen type money for Baker Mayfield.
Yes, we were.
We were.
Whatever he lost in that locker room, he quickly gets back the second he gets back. I mean, he's the only chance they have of doing anything.
This is his penance.
And
Just us saying that maybe you should have played.
The argument, by the way, parenthetically, if they give the ball to J.K. Dobbins instead of Tyler Huntley, they probably win that game, and we're not having this conversation, or at least we're having it a week later. But
I think Glazer's saying if Lamar's playing in that game, they win that game.
Yeah, true. But you could also make an argument that worst case, he plays in that game, he re-injures the ankle. It's not going to hurt his contract. He's got all offseason to heal. He's still going to sign the same contract.
Wait, hold on. You
What if
say
he
that
tears a knee or
you
something?
say
Well,
that, but Pollard just fractured a leg headed into free agency in the last game that he played with a really awkward tackle. I don't know what that cost him. It just happened in the Dallas game.
Right. I don't know what that cost him either. I don't know how quickly is that going to heal. Is he ever going to be truly 100%? I don't know those things.
How much, man? Lamar Jackson doesn't have a whole lot of time to earn, does he, Stugotz, playing that way? Like
He's 25, right?
Yeah, but he's got to make his money now, right? His last two seasons have ended because of injury. He's got to go
I think
get
his
that
style of play, and he knows this, like, hey, I have one, maybe two cracks at one of these big contracts, likely going to be one just because of the style of play that I go out there and deliver every Sunday. So, yeah, I think it's a tough decision. But, yeah, I understand why he made it. I do. I mean, $300 million is at stake. He's never going to have an opportunity to make that kind of money again. He certainly won't have it if he goes out there and injures a knee against the Cincinnati Bengals. And it doesn't matter Like, he didn't need to play in that game because Joe Burrow has already won the Super Bowl. How about that?
I don't have what it takes to be a military man and a football player, obviously, because the quote to me is ridiculous. It's an honor to play hurt. It's a ridiculous quote. But
it buys you a lot in your locker room. It does. Those guys are looking at Mahomes differently. I know that sounds crazy.
You spent yesterday ripping him.
That's too much.
Enough.
See you, Gary.